Broncos country, NFL draft nerds, what's going on? We're going to be recapping the whole Senior Bowl week. Who raised their draft stock? Who might be some of the targets for our Denver Broncos? We'll dive into it and also take a look at a really interesting mock draft that Eric Trickle from over at Mile High Huddle, a division of Sports Illustrated, went on to give really, really interesting stuff. So, of course, you guys join the discussion. I love talking with y'all. Smash that like, subscribe, let me know your thoughts. I'll give you my little spiel, and then, we can have a little nice discussion here. So let's go ahead and get started, y'all. Who rose? Who might have fallen? Let's go ahead and get into it. So this is a courtesy of PFF. There were a few guys here that definitely raised their draft stock, one of which being edge Mike Green. He might be like a top 10 pick, depending on how the board goes. So if he's there at 20, maybe, you just consider him for as, if he's best player available. But I just don't think that's the case in Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper. But he's going to go to a team and probably be an instant starter for them. Jalen Milroe, man, he's got Jared Goff hands. His stock slipped. That's a bummer. I'm really interested to see where he lands. I'm a Jalen Milroe fan, but by no means do I think he is a finished product coming into the NFL. That'll be interesting to watch. But RISERS here got a good look at Gray Zabel week 1 against Colorado this year. I thought he held up really, really well at offensive tackle, but it looks like he had a really great week playing offensive line or interior offensive line. He could play center, he could play guard, and overall seems to be raising his draft stock by kicking inside. It's a little spoiler. This mock draft from Eric Trickle that we'll get into here in a little bit actually has the Broncos taking him at pick 20. So we'll get into that here in just a minute. The guy I had to throw here in the thumbnail, Jack Bech from TCU, said easily was the best receiver on the American team all week, showed excellent route running ability, made several contested catches, and displayed a willingness to compete in the run game. Bech's performance was considered his breakout season, was consistent with his breakout season at TCU this year, tallied his first 1,000-yard season, 83 overall grade, dropped one pass, well-rounded. They're saying don't be surprised if he's a top 50 selection. And I think like right now, if we go to where they got him at PFF, see, they've even raised him up a little bit, I think, towards not even at 56 anymore. Per this article, he's now at 38. And you can see he's got great size, 22 years old. That's fine. 6'2", 215. And again, had a terrific season this year at TCU. Maybe a little bit older of a breakout age for a guy that you'd want to use a top 50 pick on. But again, I think he's fantastic. Whatever team gets him, I think is getting a pro's pro. And good to see, if you didn't know this, his brother was killed in the New Orleans attack from a couple weeks ago. Just tragic stuff. He had the game-winning touchdown catch in the Senior Bowl at the end of the game. It was awesome to see. So again, prayers to his family and all the loved ones affected by that. But man, just tremendous amount of resilience coming out and balling out in that Senior Bowl with all that going on. I can't imagine. Shamar Stewart, he's going to be a top 20 selection, it looks like. This is a guy that I don't think is going to be available come 20. He was a beast at Texas A&M, and it looks like, he's going to continue to raise his draft stock as we get closer. I already spoke about Mike Green. He's fringe top 10 right now. He owned Oregon's Josh Connerly on some of those one-on-one drills, which I just happen to love. Mason Taylor. I wanted to read this. Taylor has much athletic potential as any tight end in the draft. He displayed that talent at times in Baton Rouge, but couldn't find consistency to produce at an elite level. He showed off a bit of massive potential at the Senior Bowl. Improved route running and contested catch ability were on display for Taylor as he proved himself to be one of the top prospects at the position. His footwork was sharp in and out of his breaks. He also showed adequate work as a blocker during team drills, which will give him versatility in the NFL. put him Taylor put himself in good position to be one of the first 3 tight ends selected. Very, very interesting. So if we take a look here at tight ends, give me 1 second, y'all. Tight end rankings here, you can see Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, Gunnar Helm, Elijah Arroyo, then Mason Taylor, Harold Fannin, and then Terrence Ferguson. Yeah, I would say that's probably around where I have like my top 6, 7 guys or so. But yeah, Gunnar Helm, he's not really being talked about because I think he's just real solid. But Elijah Arroyo, obviously fan of him after doing a film room on him, just tons of potential. Harold Fannin, I'd be happy with. Terrence Ferguson. There are a lot of tight ends. Heck, maybe we even draft 2 this year. But glad to see him raise his stock, again, son of Jason Taylor. So that's pretty cool. Nephew of Joy Taylor. Guys that have been falling down the boards a little bit. Wyatt Millam of West Virginia. I already touched on Jalen Milrow. Harold Fannin. Yeah, said he didn't just look as explosive out of his breaks and didn't consistently separate from man coverage. But again, guys, remember, he balled out against Penn State. So we'll have to see what's going on there. Deion Walker, a guy that I've been really interested in, did not look nearly as up to expectation as people were hoping for. Same with Prince Amanmillion. Hopefully I got his name correctly there, from Ole Miss. Now, if we get to the 33rd team, there are some other prospects that I thought were really interesting. They talked about Darius Alexander. He's going to be a 25-year-old rookie, but he was dominant as a defensive tackle there and possibly could be getting kind of round 3 draft capital. We'll have to see. But some of the guys from Daft on Draft, like Dalton B. Miller, and we're talking about, Darius Alexander, he's a little older, but if you're just, half of these guys, if not, less than half of these guys get a second contract. If you're just looking at drafting a guy kind of similar to Devon Vele, can he give you really good production on that rookie deal? Maybe Darius Alexander flies up the boards because defensive tackle is such a big need across the league. Who cares if he's 25? You're going to get 4 really good years out of him on a cheap contract. He's somebody to keep in mind. Maybe we do end up drafting him depending on how far he falls and when he's available. A lot of these guys have already been talked about. Riser, Carson Vincent, Alabama A&M. Hey, how about that? Let's take a look at this. Oh, okay. Yeah, looked real nice. Hey, no problem at all. Showcasing good feet, balance, contact, all that. Landon Jackson, defensive lineman from Arkansas, has also raised his stock. I don't think that he's going to be on the Broncos' radar just because he's more of an edge. Shamar Stewart, we've already talked about. Harold Fannin, again, a little bit more of a faller, but this is a really stacked draft class at the tight end position. Again, drafting 2 guys would be awesome. Might as well call him Big Play Bech. Excuse me 1 second. Bech exploded this season at TCU with explosive plays downfield. Brought that to the Senior Bowl, where he logged at least 1 big play downfield in each of the 3 days of practice. He has strong hands, is an uber physical player, including in the run game where he can carve out an added running room on the second level. Let's take a look here. Parrish that he's going up against there in the end zone. Beautiful stuff. He was shredding defensive backs all week, whether that was in one-on-one or team drills, and he balled out in the game as well. So very, very interesting. Another defensive tackle for us to keep on our radar, Broncos fans, is Junior Tafuna out of Utah. Underproductive talent out of Utah is what they're saying. But if we're playing for keeps in a live setting, he likely would have finished the last 3 days of practice with as many sacks as he had in the last 3 seasons at Utah. So that's very interesting. Maybe a guy that got himself into drafted contention, day 3 contention. He's a twitchy, undersized spark plug who showcases quickness with super heavy hands. Delightful combination that should have him rising up boards in weeks to come. Elijah Arroyo, again, we've already talked about him a little bit. I've showed off a lot of his highlights during the Senior Bowl practices. Yeah, I definitely feel like he's going to be within the top 5 of tight ends, and I think definitely needs to be a target for the Broncos. So this is all credit to Kyle Krabs, the 33rd team. But let's go ahead, guys. Before I get to your comments, I wanted to go through this really fun mock draft that Eric Trickle put together here over at Mile High Huddle. And yeah, kind of feel like the direction he went with this is kind of taking guys that were Shrine Bowl and Senior Bowl risers. So here he went with Gray Zabel, and again, he said here, this is interesting. There aren't many options that fit with the Broncos when you limit your options like I have, but there is one. Grading the interior offensive line may not be the sexy pick, but it's good to keep building the nest around Bo Nix. Luke Wattenberg and Alex Forsyth were serviceable at center, but Zabel would be a clear upgrade with the versatility to play multiple spots in the offensive line. By landing a center, the Broncos likely shore up their offensive line for 2 years, and they do it with a cost-controlled player being added to one of the NFL's highest-paid offensive line units. Okay, like, I got to be honest, I would be pretty pissed if we selected a center with our first-round pick. Like, not going to lie. Something needs to go seriously wrong, and especially if we're even if the offensive weapons that we don't want are there, if there should be some good defensive players available on the defensive line at linebacker or safety even that I think are bigger positions of need. Remember, Lloyd Cushenberry was not very good till his like 3rd, 4th year in the league, right? We're about to get Luke Wattenberg's 3rd year in the league. Not about it. But what I would be about, Jack Bech at pick 52. That sounds a lot of fun. The comparison of Eric Decker, how about that? Solid pairing to Cortland Sutton and Marvin Mims. I would agree. I wouldn't hate that. And he's another red zone weapon. Again, a wide receiver that can block. So I think he's got the ability to block in line if you want to do some of that little Jordan Humphrey type stuff with him. 3rd round, Devin Neal. He looked good at the Senior Bowl as well. And yeah, big fan of Devin Neal. I've been more and more of a fan of him as I have been getting into the running backs eligible for the NFL draft. And I think he would be a fantastic fit here. Kind of reminds me of Dalvin Cook in some ways. Then he goes here with Terrence Ferguson from Oregon at pick 120. Obviously, you would love this. I would be really pumped about this. Pick 6 goes with, I guess this would be our pick 6, but second pick of the 6th round, Yaya Black or Yo-Yo Black of Iowa, interior defensive line. To be honest, I have not looked at him at all yet, so maybe this is an opportunity for me to start a deep dive. They had the 3rd best rushing defense in the NFL, but we were absolutely thrashed by real competition against the Buffalo Bills. Black is a long and strong nose tackle who can provide consistency in the middle against the run. Yes, I would be a fan of this. And let me just see if he's on PFF's big board right now. He is not. So never mind there. Was going to look at his profile. But nonetheless, we move on. And then I guess this would be pick 6. Sorry, guys. Pick 196, Shamari Simmons. This was somebody that I talked about as a Shrine Bowl riser last week. So really cool to see Eric Trickle put him on here. Safety, he's got great speed. The guy can cover. I love the tenacity, the violence that he plays with, but also, again, he can cover. He can cover distance quickly. This would be an awesome pick. I'd be a fan of that. And then Teddy Buchanan, linebacker out of Cal. Another Shrine Bowl standout. Buchanan was all over the field. His work downhill and laterally is great, but he showed some potential to work in coverage as well. But yeah, maybe he could be a upgrade over somebody like Justin Strnad. We'll have to see. But yeah, like overall, I think that there would be a lot of picks here that I would be really, really happy with. But yeah, if we're passing over somebody that's a beast of a nose tackle at pick 24, a position that I don't think I think Wattenberg is fine, and he still hasn't touched his ceiling, in my opinion. Same with Forsyth. I think that this is a little bit of an overreaction, but again, I understand what Eric Trickle's trying to do here, trying to go with Senior Bowl risers, Shrine Bowl risers with this mock draft. So with that being said, guys, before I wrap up here in a few minutes, I'll get to a couple of your comments. Again, hope you guys are doing well. We got 50 people in here, guys, so it would mean a lot. Come over to YouTube if you're not on it. Smash that like, subscribe if you haven't. That's going to do huge things for what we're building here on the channel. Thank you so much. Victory Lap, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Bone Nose. Hey, yes, let's get him some weapons. Andy, what's going on, man? So someone replied to one of my tweets with Zabel at a 20 mock. Absolutely disgusting. Yeah, not a fan. Not a fan. I would rather use that pick elsewhere. And you know what, guys? You know I love doing mock drafts. So why don't we just go through a little mock draft here and see how it goes since I got a few minutes? I love doing all this stuff. It's like more enjoyable fantasy football for me because I absolutely suck at fantasy football. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. Oh, please, God, have an offensive weapon available. Dang it. All right. So for this exercise, yeah, we're going with Walter Nolan here. Yeah, I'm not going with Gray Zabel. There's too many guys that even Tyleek Williams would be cool, Kenneth Grant, but you guys are like, go with Walter Nolan yesterday. So we're going to go with him today. Then, hey, things get interesting. Xavier Restrepo. Shout out to Marquee Sports did an awesome video on him. Jade Higgins is also available. Derek Harmon. Do I double down on that? Do we go Darius Alexander or somebody like Chris Paul? Man, a lot of options here. Where do we go? Do I reach for tight end? Nah, man. We need a freaking running back. I'm going with Caleb Johnson. Film review. I'll put one out on him very, very soon. Here, the third round. Zaire Thomas. I mean, that's kind of a luxury position. Jeffrey Bassa, I think, also had a really good Senior Bowl as well. Devin Neal, man, we could go a handful of different directions here. But for this one, you know what? Let's just, I've done a lot of mocks with Devin Neal, Tez. Let's go Jeffrey Bassa here and see how screwed we are come our fourth round pick. So, hey, we could still get Terrence Ferguson. So that's wonderful. I think that's the direction I'm going to be going. So far we got Walter Nolan, Caleb Johnson, Jeffrey Bassa, Terrence Ferguson. All right. And I'm not going with a third Oregon player in a row. Just not doing that. Let's see what other wide receivers we got available. Yeah, maybe like Ricky White. Again, Efton Chisholm, he's a lot of fun. Will Shepard, I'm a big fan of. LaJohntay Wester, all he does is get open. Those guys are going to be steals there at day 3. But we've taken care of, a lot of our big positions of need here. Do we go with a safety? Do we go? I don't know anything about Leak Arnold yet, so I say, man, let's double down on tight end. I think that would be a lot of fun. Luke Lachey, let's bring him out here. Elijah Clark. I don't know too much about him. 6'1" safety. Nah, screw it, man. We're going with Efton Chisholm. That's right. And then, yeah, let's finish off with safety RJ Mickens, man. How about that? So I'll take this every time. I bet they give me a B+ for this. Oh, they gave me a B. Well, that's okay. They really like the Bassa, Terrence Ferguson picks. But I think that would be a good way. I don't want it, 90% offense, 90% defense. I would love if we, kind of split this thing somewhat down the middle. So, guys, I got to get out of here. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to let me know kind of your thoughts on some of these targets. Would you be pissed if we took a center in the first? Let me know. Again, guys, thank you for the support. As always, go Broncos.